Hi, everybody. This is Tamara from Moogly, and I'm super excited to be coming to you live today to talk about Moogly Crochet Along 2023 and 2024. We have wrapped up Moogly Crochet Along 2023. Our last square by Nikki's Homemade Crafts came out the day before American Thanksgiving, so that was Wednesday of a month ago now. Time keeps flying. And anyway, so she had the last square. And we've had all of December, of course, to put our squares together. If you don't have it done yet, don't worry, I won't tell. Take your time. But next month, we can go ahead and kick off Moogly Crochet Along 2024. So today, the big official post has gone up on mooglyblog.com with all of the details completely spelled out. I want to hit a few of those highlights and, of course, show off my finished blanket with you here this morning. But this is going to be a quick live just to tell you the basics. And then all the details are on the post on Moogly. I printed out the post so I can share those details with you this morning, but it's 5 pages of print without the photos. So there's lots of great information for you right there on mooglyblog.com. And Facebook, I hear, just went live. So let's go ahead and reintroduce myself real quick. We're trying to go on both today, YouTube and Facebook. Facebook got started just a little bit later than YouTube. So once again, hi, I am Tamara Kelly from MooglyBlog.com, which you probably know if you're already watching me. And we are here to talk about the ending of Moogly Crochet Along 2023 and the beginning of Moogly Crochet Along 2024. So as I was just saying, on MooglyBlog.com today, at the link that's in the description, unless you go ahead and watch this right on the blog, we have all the information that you need to wrap up 2023 and begin 2024. I was just saying it's about 5 pages without the photos, all printed out. So all the information is really detailed there. I know it's a long post, but I know you're going to have questions. So I really tried to go ahead and answer all your questions ahead of time as much as possible. That said, if you've got more questions, be sure to drop those in the comments and I will try and answer those here as we go. Now we are live. So I'm going to take just a second kind of refresh my pages here on the computer and phone in front of me so I can attempt to get these videos to show up so I can see our comments in real time. Okay, we found the YouTube one. Let's see if I can find Facebook. There we go. Okay, great. All right, and it looks like it is working. Hi, Christy and Julie and everybody who's watching. Thank you so much for joining us. So let's get into it, right? Moogly Crochet Along 2023 wrapped up 10 years of this crochet along. It's been going since 2014. Most of the squares are still live. The early years were a little iffy as we got our feet under us, but for the past few years, those squares are still available. And it has just been, I think, probably the longest running continuous crochet along on the internet. I could be wrong. I'm looking for the longer one. If you're out there, definitely let me know. But basically, if you're new to the crochet along, we have 24 12-inch crochet squares that come out every 2 weeks, January through November. That leaves December for joining those squares into whatever form we like, or setting the whole thing aside to get ready for the holidays, whatever you prefer. Some people join as they go. Some people wait till the end. Some people make blankets. Most people make blankets, but lots of people make lots of other things too. And that's one of the fun things about this crochet along. It is free. It is largely self-directed. There are 24 new squares every year, but if you want to go back into past years or grab a favorite square that's never made it into the crochet along and add it, it's totally up to you. You don't have to sign up for anything. You don't have to, do anything. You don't have to pay anything, certainly. All you need is your hook and your yarn and follow along with Moogly. And we'll be sharing those posts on mooglyblog.com. So at the risk of getting completely out of order, I'm going to follow along with my own blog post here and go through some of the things. Basically, every 2 weeks over the course of the year, the new blog post will go up on Moogly for the crochet along. It will have my sample square, the designer's sample square, and the link to that square, and lots of notes and things to help you make that square more successfully, such as tutorials and, photos and different things like that. My notes, I try and usually include some helpful hints that I found while I was making this square. And of course, that means I've tested that square too before it goes out to you. So let's see. So every year we've got 24 amazing designers. We've got 24 coming back this year, as well as a new one or two. The complete list of squares for 2023, as I say, is now up. It's on the post for block 24. Every time a new square comes out on Moogly, The links for all the previous squares for that year are on that post. And then, of course, that post kind of says this post to it. So if you want to get all the squares for 2023, they are on the post for block 24 for 2023. Having 24 blocks in year 2023 and 2024 is going to keep screwing me up. I'm going to try and keep it straight. So let's see the finished blanket. I don't usually stand up on camera, but here goes. This is my finished Moogly Crochet Along 2023. Of course, it's too big to fit all on camera at once, but I'm going to do my best to kind of hold it up here. Of course, there's pictures in the blog post, and if you're following along on Moogly TikTok, I've done a couple of videos there as well, showing the construction of it and how it came together. So you can see here, if I hold it a little closer, this is the tight braid join that I've used, which I've used for several past crochet alongs the last few years. And then for the border this year, I'm going to go ahead and sit back down. Woo. All right. There we go. The joys of life, right? All right. So for the border, I did basically a riff on the border that we discovered in that peppermint, what was it called? The peppermint throw pillow, I think, by Yarnspirations. I did a lunch and learn for that earlier this year, and I really enjoyed that border. I'd seen it on other projects, but I hadn't had a chance to use it before. So on that project, we were using it on a completely round pillow. So for this, I had to adapt it a little bit to work with the straight sides of this blanket, so that it didn't ruffle, because when we're working around a curve, we have more stitches and we're working straight, right, to accommodate for that curve. So I've expelled it out in the blog post, but let me try and hold it up here. There it is. You can see I went around in the white again. That was my joining color. I did a row of solid single crochets, and then I did this twisted peppermint twist border. And to adapt it for working straight along the edge here, I just made sure to skip a stitch after each pair of stitches. I'd work 2 stitches, then skip, work 2, then skip all the way across. Then when it came to the corners, I just stopped skipping, and I made sure to work 2 of those stitches in the corner chain space. And that sort of gave me the extra stitches to get me around that curve. And then it laid really nicely flat all along just by skipping that stitch. Now, it took a while, I will say that. I was glad that once I was adding these twisted stitches, or twisted loops, however you want to phrase it, I only had the 1 round of them to do, because it did take a while, I'm not going to lie. Going around with the single crochet was fast, but then switching your hook back and forth between these 2 colors, it took a minute. That said, I love the effect. My family loves the effect. I think it just gives a really neat finished look, and I love that it's completely reversible too. It's a really reversible border. And of course, with blankets, we know, when we're the ones who put it on the couch all nicely or lay it on the bed, we're going to lay it right side up, right? But the rest of the family is going to flip it around. It's going to get thrown out there all sorts of ways. So at least the border is going to look great on both sides of this one. So if you're interested in doing the same border for this project or a future project, I have spelled that out in today's blog post as well. So hi, everybody. Hi, thank you so much. I know it's a really busy day. I appreciate you joining me live today. Of course, if you aren't able to watch this live, there will be a complete replay. It will stay up here on the web, and I will have it embedded on the blog post with all of this information. Thank you so much, Teresa and Kathy and Lulu. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's get back to that information. So the tight braid join and that peppermint swirl info is all on the blog post. If it turns out we need a video tutorial for that border later, I can absolutely do that. But that is what I've got so far for 2023. All finished. You can see I used my 3 colors, white, light gray, and pewter to, I think, really neat effect. And I'm really pleased with this one, but I will say, going into 2024, I am ready for some color. So let's get to it. Let's talk about Moogly Crochet Along 2024. Now, you can, of course, use whatever yarn you like to use. It's your project. For the designers, I ask that they use either Red Heart with Love or Caron 1 Pound. Both are readily available, worsted weight acrylic yarns. They work up well. They work up about the same. So if you've got a little stash of both and you want to mix and match those, you absolutely can. In terms of my colorway, which has always been a big announcement every year and so hard for me to pick, this year I decided to go the same way a lot of you have gone in the past, and I'm going to do some stash busting. You can actually see my complete collection of Red Heart with Love behind me, except I've got 1 skein right here to say that's what I'm going to be using, Red Heart with Love. I have 1 skein of blue, but if you look right behind me in the bins that start kind of right, this is always so hard to do backwards, right here with the gray and white and go over here to the red, and I move my head, you can see that's the Lily Sugar and Cream. Go up one right here, and that's my row of Red Heart with Love. For some reason, I thought it was going to be lower behind me. But right here, it's got the white and the reds at this end, the grays and the purple this end, and there's got a little bit of black and dark gray down here left over from this year. But this rainbow right here is what I'm going to be working from for 2024. And my plan, so you can see here, I've got a lot of the white and the gray left. I'm going to try and use those sort of as my mix in colors to sort of pull it all together. But then I'm going to try and rainbow my way through the year starting in January. So we'll see. Like I say, we all have to do some stash busting once in a while. And I decided that 2024 was going to be my year. So I'm really excited. This is a free crochet along. Thank you for asking, Granny. But yes, so it's totally free. I'm going to be doing some stash busting myself. Of course, if you want to go ahead and order your yarn, you absolutely can do that. If you are someone who likes to order your yarn, you want to use brand new colorway, I recommend that you get, let me get the exact number here. It is approximately 4,400 yards. Now, how did I come up with that number? I estimate approximately 150 yards per square, plus a little bit more for joining and bordering. So if you were doing that in Red Heart with Love, that would be approximately, well, I would actually get about 11 skeins, maybe a little bit more. That's how many I used last year. Last year I used, let me write it down here, 5 of the white, 3 of the light gray, and 3 of the pewter, to give you an idea. I always recommend getting a little more rather than a little less. Hold on to your receipt. If you really don't want to keep any extra, you can always return it. But also, you don't want to get to, block 23 or block 24 and run out of one color of yarn, right? So if you're going to go ahead and buy it, that's really spelled out in the blog post as well. So again, I give the total yardage because different yarns, different skeins, different brands, they all come with different yardage. So you'll have to do a little bit of that math yourself. And if you're using multiple colors, you'll have to decide how you want to divide that up. Do you want all of one color or a little bit of two colors or however you want to split it up? That's really going to be up to you. If you don't want to buy all your yarn ahead of time or you're not doing some stash busting or a big multicolor thing, then you will want to either look for a yarn without a dye lot or make sure to check the dye lots if you need to match your colors. That's always important as well. So yes, like you said, I got to clean off some shelf space so I can get some more yarn. Exactly. I love it, Anna. Thank you so much. Yay. And Yvette, I hope you will join us this year. How many colors will I be using? Well, I don't know. Let's see. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, probably upwards of 10 colors total. But each square I anticipate only using 2 to 3 colors. So we'll see. Like I say, it's stash busting. I'm going to see how it goes. I actually have one skein of a really pretty orange that's actually discontinued that I'm really tempted to pull out. The tangerine color for Red Heart with Love unfortunately got discontinued, but I still have a little bit. It's put aside for charity, but I'm tempted to pull one back out since it is stash busting just to get the pretty orange color back in there for sure. So let's see. Is it cheaper to buy in bulk? It can be. It depends. Most yarn, Michael's, Joann's, I don't usually see a bulk discount there. But I do highly recommend going onto their websites and getting those coupons. Those 40% off coupons that both stores run are phenomenal. So those are great. Yay. Oh, thank you. So yay. Just checking the messages and questions here. Megan says she's got some blocks from 2014 and she's going to do some stash busting to keep working on it this year. That's fantastic. Yes. Like I said, you can plan all your colors out ahead of time. Absolutely. I just decided that after 10 years, it's time for me to do some stash busting and clear off my shelf just a little bit. Let's see. Can I post a picture of the finished blank for the Crochet Along 2023? Yes, there is up on Moogly blog right now. Moogly, the most current post, the most newest post, it's linked in the description right here, has a full laid out flat picture of this blanket. Now, I made it in the gray, white, and black, but you could absolutely, or pewter, I should say, not black, but you could absolutely use that as a coloring page to set up your own colors if you want to go ahead and duplicate 2023. So, yay, I'm so glad you liked this plan. How many skeins in all? Again, it depends what kind of yarn you get. If you get Kieran 1 pound, that skein's a lot bigger than Red Heart with Love. which is why I give a total yardage amount that you can then divide by the yards that are available in the skein you want to use. Like I say, with Red Heart with Love last year, I used 11 skeins, although the last one I had quite a bit left. This was skein number 11 for 2023. So depending, just depends on your colors and your layout. Personally, I love having a little extra yarn laying around for sure. Let's see. I know there it is. 4,420 yards is what I recommend having on hand if you do want to go ahead and get all your yarn up ahead of time. Again, that just depends on how many yards are in your skeins, how many skeins that's going to look like, how many colors you want to do. If you want to do 25 colors, you're going to need to get 25 skeins of yarn, but you're going to have a lot left over from each skein. So it just depends on your personal color choices. Like I say, other than Red Heart with Love, Kieran 1 pound is a great choice. Bernat Premium, Red Heart Super Saver. Personally, I'm a big fan of making blankets in acrylic yarn because of real life. I've got a dog. I've got 3 kids. Okay, granted, 2 of them are officially adults, but I've got kids. I've got real life happening around here. When I make a blanket like this one, I want to be able to throw it in the wash, throw it in the dryer, and not have to worry about it. So I'm a big fan of acrylic yarns. If you wanted to do something fancier, excuse me, I would say like a Peyton's Classic Wool would be gorgeous. Sorry, haven't been talking much this week. I've been quiet all week. So yeah, something like a Peyton's Classic Wool would be really lovely. Really I prefer a worsted weight acrylic. That's going to give you 12-inch squares. That said, I know a lot of people in the UK and over in Europe follow along with the Crochet Along, and they use DK yarn, DK or sport weight yarn, because that's a lot easier for them to get over there. Using those yarns, your squares, as written, are going to turn out to be closer to 10-inch squares, which is fine, especially if you're making something like a blanket or a purse or a bag where the squares don't really need to be a certain size as long as they're all the same size. So really, if I even saw somebody one time made it in thread, which was amazing, and I loved seeing the pictures. I could never do it myself. I don't think my eyes or my fingers could cooperate. But you could absolutely use whatever weight content, fiber content, whatever yarn you like to use, whatever's going to best fit your lifestyle and what you want to use for those squares for. Like if you were going to use them to make up a bunch of tote bags, I'd go ahead and use Lily Sugar and Cream. And then you've got a ton of colors to choose from. So you can have a lot of fun with those too. Let's see. Yep, got some great comments here in the chat on where people are buying their yarn. Oh, and thank you for asking, Ina. Hook size, of course, that's important as well. For the hook, we are using a USJ, which is a 6mm crochet hook. I'm going to be using this one right here. Let's get it to focus there. This is of course, I've got the label upside down, but this is the Susan Bates Twist and Lock. I like these because I can switch out the heads, and then on the back, I've got a little yarn cutter or sometimes an extra hook. This one has an extra hook in it. I have several. I have quite the collection. But this is the hook I will be using. The designers, of course, can use whatever hook makes their hand happy. Same for you. I like using a USJ 6mm hook. That's what I ask the designers to use. But you can use whatever gets you to 12 inches. That said, or 10 inches, or gives you the fabric you like. Again, size isn't so much important for these as it is that they're all the same size when you're done. So each designer, of course, has their own gauge. That's normal. Each person has their own gauge. Even if they've never crocheted before, they've got their own crochet gauge because we all have our own hands and our own tension level and our own stress levels that day. What I would recommend is, even though the different designers you might find the square comes up a little bit short, you might need to add a row. The next square might come up a little big. You might need to remove a row. That's fine. And I talk about that a little bit in here as well and on each square. It's fine to alter the last row or two of these blocks to make them fit your size. What I don't recommend you do is that you switch your hook size for every square. Normally, when we're trying to get gauge or get to a certain size, that's how we fix it, right? We switch our hook size. We go up when our stuff's, a little too small. We go down when our stuff's a little too big. But because we're going to be joining all these squares together, probably, depending on your project, but odds are you're going to be joining all these squares together at the end. You want the loops on those squares to be the same size. And the best way to ensure that is to use the same hook size across all these squares. Now, that said, if you know you're a loose crocheter and everything for you turns out to be too big, go ahead and go down a hook size. Start out lower for the whole thing. You'll probably like the fabric you get better anyway. If you are a really tight crocheter, all your stuff tends to turn out really stiff, bump up to a K. Use a 6.5 millimeter crochet hook. It's really, it's just crochet. It's just a blanket. It doesn't have to be that serious. You just want to enjoy the process and end up with stuff that you can join together easily when you're all done. Carolyn, thank you for letting me know. Right now, the link for the twist and lock is not working. Your Inspirations updated all their links this year, so that one's probably still broken. I will have to fix that. Thank you so much. Teresa, yes, Red Heart Super Saver would be a fantastic yarn to use. I just don't have as much of a collection of it, so I'm using my Red Heart with Love stash up right now. Let's see. Yes, adult kids somehow stay kids when they come home to visit. That's for sure. Absolutely right, Yvette. That and opening up the fridge, right? Absolutely. Okay, so let me come back to my notes here and see what I have missed, if anything. Yes, so there's nowhere to sign up. You don't have to, quote unquote, join. Just follow Moogly. You can do that here on YouTube. There is a free newsletter. If you leave a comment on today's blog post for the Crochet Along, or any blog post for that matter, and you click that little checkbox when you go to leave the comment, there's a checkbox that says notify me of future posts. If you click that, then you'll get an email every time there's a post. So lots of different ways you can follow along. Every week in the free Moogly newsletter, I include a link to the most recent Crochet Along post. So like I say, follow me on social media. I'll be sharing there. And of course, there is an entire Facebook group. Hi, everybody who's there. Thanks for watching. There is an entire Facebook group dedicated to the Moogly Afghan Crochet Along, which I've also linked in today's post. So if you're on Facebook, definitely, or if you're watching on Facebook, be sure to join the group. It is fantastic for inspiration. And also, there's like thousands of people in there crocheting the same squares at the same time you are. So if you've got a question, if you're like, oh my gosh, I can't make sense of this corner, it just isn't clicking for me, you can go into that group, and 9 times out of 10, somebody else is right there with you. So they'll be able to help you out there as well. So we've talked about the yarn. Like I said, you can really use any yarn size you like. Just try and be consistent throughout the crochet along. Even if you're using different yarns, just make sure they're the same weight. If you're going to mix up your Red Heart Super Saver with your Bernat Premium and your With Love and your Karen 1 pound and all these together, just, make sure they're the same, basically, same fiber content and weight. That would be the most important thing. You don't want one to shrink in the wash and the other one not to, right? Let's see. So there will be 24 new patterns. They are to keep them free forever on their blog, or if they decide to shutter their blog on Ravelry, that's kind of the deal, because they still retain full ownership of that. If a square comes up that isn't to your liking, please feel free to skip it. You don't have to make all the squares. Again, you're not signed in, you're not locked into anything. You come up with a square you don't like, some designer just isn't to your taste, maybe they use a technique you don't like, or it's too floral for you, or not floral enough. Feel free to skip it. Go back to past years, grab a past square you never got a chance to make that maybe you liked, or that, like I say, that other square you've been admiring on Ravelry or on Pinterest, and feel free to substitute that in. The designers work really hard for their designs, and we are really grateful to them for providing their squares for free for this free crochet along. So we want to respect their work and, acknowledge it's not, not every design is for everybody, and that's okay. We can go ahead and move on and try a different one. So let's see. Yep, Catherine, all but one made it into the blanket this year. Had to find a substitute for one. Absolutely. And that's totally fine. We definitely encourage that for sure. Like I say, it's 24 squares. If you put those all together in a blanket, that would be 4 by 6. Add one more and you can make a 5 by 5. So definitely lots of opportunities to customize your blanket there. Let's see. Anne asks, as a completed blanket, do the DK ones and the acrylic worsted ones weigh the same when sitting on your lap on the sofa? A DK weight's going to be lighter. It's simply going to be lighter and smaller. So if you're looking for a really lightweight blanket, DK might be the way to go. You can go ahead and pick out any 3-weight yarn from the store for sure. Hi, Edith. Thanks for watching. Hi, Kyle. Everybody, thank you. Okay, so back to my notes. Trying to make sure I don't miss anything here. As I say, you can go back to the previous year's crochet along, always grab something from there. If you would like to see visually all the squares, right? Because right now, if you go to the blog, they're kind of usually a series of links. If you'd like to see them all visually, there is a Pinterest board for each year going all the way back to 2015. I didn't get one together for 2014. The internet's changed a lot the last 10 years. But going back to 2015, there is a Pinterest board for each year's crochet along. I've got, again, they're all linked in today's blog post. So you can go right to that Pinterest board and see all the squares visually for you right there. So if you're browsing, especially for past ones, that is a really great way to do it. Let's see. So many pages of notes. Let's see. Thank you, guys. So the schedule. Let's talk about it. When does this actually begin, right? So the squares are released every 2 weeks throughout the year on Thursday mornings at 10 a.m. Central U.S. time. That happens to be where I live, so that's what we go by. We begin in January, and the last square, again, will debut one day early, the day before American Thanksgiving. So every square is on a Thursday until that very last one. We put that on Wednesday, so you can print it out and take it with you on your holidays. Please note that this year, American Thanksgiving it's still the fourth Thursday of the month, so you'd think it would always feel like the same time, but it feels like it's a week later this year. American Thanksgiving in 2024 isn't until November 28th, I believe. Yes, November 28th. So it's going to be a really late Thanksgiving, but that means we're going to have a little bit of a later start for the crochet along, and it gives you a little bit more time to get your yarn and get ready. So our very first, drumroll please, our very first square for 2024 Moogly Crochet Along will come out January 11th. I happen to know the designer is already working on it, and she'll have it to me very soon, so I'll be making my version soon as well. So January 11th, we'll have our very first square. There will be a blog post that will come out at 10 a.m. on mooglyblog.com with MooglyCAL2024 Block 1. The link will be there to that square. If the designer decided to do a tutorial for it, we'll try and have a link for that as well. There will be links for any of the stitches there that I can find video tutorials for, as well as notes about the process of making the square and any tips that I have for you as well, and links to today's post and all the other stuff that you might want to know. Let's see. So what else is on today's blog post? Just to wrap it up, we've got a little section on how to join the Moogly Crochet Along 2024 after you've got all your squares made. This goes for all the years. We've got lots of great ideas. You can join them together with lots of different forms. There's a link in every blog post for the crochet along and how you can link them. I'm sure there is in block 24. In terms of possibilities, what can you make? We talked a little bit about 24 blocks makes a 4-foot by 6-foot blanket, plus a little extra because you've got your joins and your borders. But you don't have to stick with just that. If you're not interested in that size of blanket, don't make that size of blanket. You could do add one more square. That would make 25 blocks, and you could do a 5-foot by 5-foot throw, which some people find to be a more, convenient size. You could turn your 24 blocks into 2 baby blankets. Go 3 by 4. That would give you 2 3-foot by 4-foot baby blankets. You can, like I say, add an extra square, or you can make lots of other things. So also in today's blog post, I've got a link to a very recent blog post on Moogly that talks more about granny squares, but it's got lots of layout ideas. So if you wanted to turn your blocks into something besides a blanket, or maybe even a different blanket, a different dimension blanket, there are some great layouts for you there as well. Let's see. So somebody said, how many colors do you suggest? You can use however many colors you want. Thank you for asking that, Mindy. Some people only use one color. I've used as many as 6 colors in years past. Last year, I just used 3, which I think was the fewest I've ever used. So really, it's completely up to you. The blankets that are all made in one color are really gorgeous. They're very elegant and lovely. The multicolor ones can, be elegant as well, and they can be a riot of color. So it's really kind of up to you. I would definitely recommend checking out the Facebook group if you haven't already for some color inspiration. It's really neat seeing all the different colors people use there every year. And I'll admit, I troll through there a lot of times looking for my own color inspiration because there's just some really gorgeous blocks. And it's neat to see them sort of worked up in color and give you an idea of what colors you might like for your own blanket. Let's see. I'm just making sure I didn't miss anybody's questions. Looks like I got everybody there. So there's nothing left to do. If you want to go ahead and join the Moogly Crochet Along, you don't have to, like I say, sign up for anything. I do recommend signing up for the free Moogly email, but it's completely free and optional. Following along on Moogly blog, and of course, Moogly social media is always recommended. Andrea asks, how do you make a color pattern? That's up to you. I would recommend, like I say, if you're really struggling with color, pick maybe one color you really like, a color that you have in your interior design, and then a couple neutrals that go well with it. Like I say, I'm probably going to use my white and my grays to sort of mix in with all my colors and pull the blanket together. That's one way to do it. In past years, I really loved a purple blanket, I think it was, or blue. I went back and forth between blue and purple. I think I ended up going with blue. I don't remember what year it was, but I just did different shades of blue, all the different shades of blue there were in that yarn that year. Um, you can have a lot of fun, but yeah, asking how to come up with a color plan is such an open-ended question. It's a great question, but it's so open-ended. I would say, yeah, look around your house. If you're making it for a particular room, try and pick up on the colors in that room. If you're completely at a loss, that big, beautiful, just plain white textured blanket is really popular right now. So you can always just do a really beautiful neutral. So now all you need to do is, like I say, sign up to follow me wherever you're comfortable following me. Again, it's all free. I don't charge for any of that. The crochet along itself is free. The yarn, you're going to have to provide yourself. The yarn and the hook, I can't give you those. So whether you want to pull from stash like I'm going to be this year or go out and purchase that, you've got till January 11th is our first square. And of course, if you want to purchase your yarn as you go or do some stash busting, you can absolutely do that as well. I love this idea from Mindy. She says, pull a picture of a vacation, find a picture of a vacation spot and pull the colors from there. That is a fantastic idea. I love that. Catherine asks, being in the UK, is worsted weight the same as Aran weight? Yes. In the US, on our yarns, we are fortunate to have this numbering system that the Craft Yarn Council encourages everyone to use. Not all of our small dyers use it, but most of our large ones do. You can see, I'm going to try and get that to focus. There we go. So that's the label right there for the Red Heart with Love, which is what I'm going to be using. And right, there, 4, where it says medium 4 worsted. That's a worsted or Aran, kind of the same weight, below a bulky, above a DK or a sport. Sort of is that right in between? It's medium. It's that medium weight. I guess that's the best they can, that's why they call it medium, right? It's right in the middle. Let's see. And oh my gosh, Mishi says, I take a look at a picture that evokes happiness and it helps me choose my colors for a blanket. I love that idea, Mishi. Hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. So thank you. So many great ideas. Like I said, visit the Facebook group, join the fun. There are so many thousands of people there. So we're super excited to crochet. They're very welcoming. The admins in that group, the A team, are fantastic. They run a tight ship. It's not a Facebook group full of like nonsense and things. They are fantastic. The group is fantastic. Everybody there is wonderful, and they are very welcoming and some wonderful inspiration there for sure. Let's see. So that is it. MooglyCal 2023 is over, but the blocks are still up. You're welcome to just go ahead and join in on 2021 or 2020 or 2023, whatever year makes you happy. But we'll be kicking off 2024, January 11th. And of course, in the meantime, there will be lots of other fun stuff on Moogly, so I hope you'll check it out. And until then, I hope you have a wonderful holiday break, and I'll see you all in the new year. Bye, everybody.